What would I do if I could feel?
He's got a rocket. His arm is being pulled back by tiny cartoon animals as far back as possible and then flung forward.
You've always said that I throw like a woman, so that
You do throw like a woman.
Super Flag Bros.
You actually look like our mom throwing.
You realize she was better than
Why
both
you
of you,
gotta say
right?
that? By far.
It's not nice.
Super Flag Bros.
I would say by the two of us combined, but the two of us combined is actually worse than one of us by ourselves. PB and Jelly have a couple of veterans on their team as well. We have Joseph Cano and Jay Strachan. They both played for Griffins before. Joseph Cano being a receiver and a very good receiver, catching. Welcome everyone. You are watching and perhaps listening to Super Flag Bros, the official Division 6 podcast for FPF's Division 6. I am your host, Pease Delariz. I can be followed on most social media platforms at Pease FPF. You are Deez Delariz to my left.
Why are you just like a wizard?
I'm going to get to that in a second, but I need to call out the sponsors and all that. So
Yeah.
you are Deez. What's your Twitter handle?
It's at Pieces a Wizard.
Pieces a Wizard. And of course, the producer of the show is Chapman, and of course, he can be found at Groceries Aren't Free. We have a producer in the house. Of course, if you want to tweet the show live, you can tweet him at EagleFPF. He is the technical director for all our shows across the FPF Podcast Network, and that's the name I just came up with now. I'm going to keep using it. Yeah.
The podcast network.
So have you ever asked yourself how deep hell is? Because Nick Cage actually once pondered this. My guess is it's probably as deep as the East End of Anjou, where, of course, we are brought to you by the Sportier Cage, official sponsors of Flag Plus Football, official jersey providers as well. Guys, Valentine's Day came and went.
Yep, so fast.
How broke are you now?
I'm pretty broke.
Yeah, I mean, I'm broke before, but I'm definitely broke at the time.
But it's weird because I did absolutely nothing and I'm still broke. So maybe it's not Valentine's Day. Maybe I just don't have any
Maybe
money.
you're just bad at managing money.
Yeah, terrible.
And it's funny because it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
Like you say, okay, let's not do it this weekend, or let's do something small instead. And it's just like every girl will tell you it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care about Valentine's Day. I want you to love me 365 days a year. But they still goddamn want something on Valentine's Day.
I can't
every
hear you
goddamn
now.
time.
There you go.
Every goddamn time.
Yeah. You scream so loud that it disconnected
I
the
know.
volume. Do you
I'm poor,
usually
so-
usually celebrate it or not?
We usually do is go out the week after.
And you spend
But-
way more money.
Well, no, but this way I don't
Way
have to-
less.
I don't have to buy crap off a set menu that I don't want.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend the ridiculous prices for Valentine's
Right.
Day. And finally, there's the benefit of not having to deal with crowds and all that.
Right.
But, of course, because this year, Valentine's Day fell on the weekend, we
Right.
had to celebrate on the weekend as well.
I didn't listen to a word you said because
do
you're
it.
dressed like a wizard.
It's hard to take me seriously.
I don't know what you were talking about.
I am actually dressed as a wizard because I lost in Table of Terror. If you tune in at 8 o'clock, we will choose teams at random because none of us actually know what we're talking about when we do our articles, predictions, podcasts, and so on and so forth. So a tribute to that is Table of Terror, where we choose teams at random and then have to choose punishments when our champions don't win that week. This week, my team lost was the Mercenaries. The defense touched more passes than the offense.
That's always good.
So now I'm dressed as a
always
wizard. Awesome. 38-0, Gino. Thank you. But I digress. Boys, Tip-Top Shape took on Team Laval and won the game 36-7. Mark Bellome has 6 TDs so far this season. He's rated as 67.4. Is there an issue with the cap? And by that I mean, should players with experience in higher division be given a slightly higher cap rating to adjust for that? Like, does the cap properly account for role play?
Right. So I think before addressing that, I just want to say Tip-Top Shape, by far, this unstoppable this season. But going back to Mark Bellome, I understand where you're coming from.
I
With
like that. That's when you didn't read the script and then you prepare for the thing you want to say.
No.
But then I asked you the question I want to ask you.
No, I know what I'm talking about. Okay.
I know you know what you're talking about. I'm saying you prepare.
I have information for you.
Okay.
Do you want to listen?
I like to listen.
I agree with you about the cap situation when it comes to veteran players. I think for this case specifically with Mark Bellome, I think it really does apply. I think you're really right about this because in the last 3 seasons he's had 22 touchdowns. And that's pretty impressive, and that's not just in Division 6. And so I feel
he played in Division B this past
yeah, right.
winter.
And
It's not a spring.
And the thing is, only until the last 3 years has he really peaked. So I think that it's just look, his cap right now is is okay. It's 60 and 67, so it's not
Yeah.
not terrible. But just I think we have to look at the production that they've had recent seasons and look at their trend in order to adjust the cap his cap number. But Eagle controls everything, and he ruins everybody's life with his cap.
He's actually ruining his own
No
life.
one, no one likes your cap, by the way, Eagle. It's your
As,
fault and your algorithm that
notice
you
it.
came up with.
Eagle, show the good people what you're eating right now. Eagle is eating one of the 12 donuts he has to eat through the third evening. As
Can you do that?
he's already on his fourth donut. You're gonna puke in about 12 minutes.
Can you show it
Um,
again? Can you show it again?
It's a maple glaze. It's a maple. Oh, don't help. Oh,
I just want to bite.
oh my God! You're the most disgusting person I've ever met. Woo! I know you're a homeowner, but you're actually the most homeless person I've ever
I
met.
really
as
am.
well. So Eagle, of course, lost in table terror this week as well, and he has to eat now 12 donuts through the course of the evening.
Amazing.
It's pretty disgusting. Brent Callender is also suffering the similar challenge in Division 4 podcast.
Right. Back
So
to Division
despite
6.
the good start that Samuel Samir started with, he looked worse in this game as he completed only 7 passes. How can teams adjust in game to account for like a strong defense like Tip Top Serie shape?
It's really tough to do that. I think especially when you're having an anemic offense, like when your offense is not putting any offensive output. I do want to say that I do like Olivier. I think his name is Bourgeois. Bourgeois. Yeah. And I think that he's had so far better success recently playing quarterback. That being said, not substantial success. It's tough because look, this is not the time where you want to be switching.
So your
quarterback.
solution is to switch players.
Well, no. What I was trying to get at is when your offense isn't clicking right, and your quarterback's not completing enough passes. Your receivers are dropping passes as well. If it starts to become a trend, like, do you really want to stick around with the same guy, or do you like? I think at some point you have to make the decision that a change has to be made.
I'm actually carefully pondering the things you're saying.
Yeah.
But I look like a wizard, so I'm
Yeah, I know.
Sure, I'm sure it's very difficult for you to stay on
But
track.
what I'm trying to get at here is that they have a quarterback situation unfolding because we're hitting the stretch run of the season, and they're just not performing anything on offense. But you know what? In previous seasons, I've always been the guy that says, don't change the quarterback, stick through it. It just kills the chemistry. But if it's not working, and you have a guy that has, been
But he
doing
won.
decent-
He won 2 games this season.
I know. Yeah.
And,
So-
and he started off well.
Yeah.
Look, he's got 11 touchdowns.
I just think
5
it's a tough
interceptions.
situation, and you know how it goes. It's not just the quarterback. I think, look, you've played quarterback, and you know how it goes. It's not just your fault. A lot of times it's maybe
It was never
poor
your fault.
routes that lead to interceptions. Maybe it's an inability to adjust to pressure. There's many factors that can contribute to an anemic offense.
Absolutely.
So your question is, what can you do to adjust to it? There's no simple solution to that. It's just you have to stick with your guys, and you have to be able you have to know that they run the right routes.
Chapman, don't use anemic for this week's Science Hour with Duke because clearly Duke knows one scientific word. Next
I heard it
thing-
on the radio on the way here, and I was like, I'm using that.
If you've used it like 4 times.
3 times, not 4.
Speaking of anemic offenses, Victoria's Secret took on
Yeah.
Gronky Kong
Whew.
in a game that ended 32-12, which would make you think that maybe Victoria's Secret's offense was great.
No,
It was
no,
not.
no.
This is like you would need
No.
to understand. I wished I didn't have eyes.
Okay.
After watching the first half of this
Right.
game, the second half was a little bit better as teams sort of got a feel for it. But man, it started off pretty poorly.
So what you're saying is that you kind of wish that you can put some magic into it because you're dressed like a wizard?
Yes. Eye magic. So JS2C tweaked his hamstring on the first and his first and only run
That's
of the
really
game.
tough. That's tough to play with a tweaked
Especially
hamstring.
if you're kind of counting on your athleticism as well.
I've tweaked my
After a
hamstring so
couple
many
of drops
times.
in the end zone, Gronky Kong started to fall apart, and the game plan kind of
Yeah.
flew out the window, like flying like a wizard. Is
Nice.
Daniel Bornstein the one bright spot in this team, and is he enough?
I don't think
get
so.
better for Gronky
I
Kong?
mean, he's been okay. I don't think he's been game breaking. I mean, he's been okay. But I know what you're saying. I mean, it's
Well, he had.
you have
There's
to-
only 2 receivers that caught passes.
Right,
this
yeah,
game. He's
only
one of
two
the 2
receivers,
that caught
yeah.
8 passes.
So
you know?
you're looking at the bright side of this, and I think that's a good thing because look, there's not much that's going for this team, and it's all about building on what you have. But my issue with Gronky Kong is mostly that they haven't had a stable roster all season.
No.
And if you just look at the amount of players that have played on their team, like, I mean, it's humongous. I think it's the most amount of play. It's more than one of our teams we used to be a couple of seasons back. So, and anyway, I just think that right now it's in terms of that, it's good to have a guy around that can catch a couple of passes because it looks like no one else in that team can reel in a catch. You know.
Fair. Victoria's Secret offense struggled but managed to put up points in the end. Anthony Colaci, Marco Colavecchio, Joe Marzolino, and Steve DiPietro all caught touchdowns, is spreading the wealth key to success. For
Absolutely,
this
absolutely.
team.
Especially when you have a team where it's like you don't really have any breakout player. That's always nice to have. But you tell me, when you look at their offense, what's stalling about it? Like what is it that's
Inaccuracy at the quarterback
inaccuracy? Yeah,
position.
but it's so
And
normal. It's such a small
it's
field.
hard to develop. It's hard to develop because it's
Yeah.
a small field.
It's super small.
The windows aren't particularly large, and timing is hard to get. And the only way to get timing is to throw more passes.
Yeah.
So the more he throws, the more.
But
the
you
better
think
he'll
maybe
get.
it's the snap? Maybe the snap's coming too late. Maybe that's that.
Part of it because I haven't seen a decent snap in Division 6 all season.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's one of the positions that's most greatly affected.
Yeah, and I think it's that like that every season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when thinking about Anthony Colacci, Marco Colavecchio, Joe Marzolino, and Steve DiPietro, I was thinking about this team, and I was thinking, given their names, are they
Go.
a corrupt construction crew who have been hired to do a job that will take 3 times longer than it should?
Wow.
A group of guys who hang out at an Italian espresso bar and talk as though that they're in a mob, although they clearly have no experience other than watching
What-
mobster films.
Yeah, that's what it
It's not bad, eh? Or are they C, a group of guys who only wear undershirts around the house and whose wives are seemingly always arguing with them while ironing shirts they will never actually wear?
First of all, I'm very jealous of this lifestyle that they live. Secondly, I mean, I just think it's all of them. Like, I don't think it's a multiple choice question. I think it's possible to just be all of that. And I don't think you can be just A. I think you have to be all that at once.
Yeah, I'm honestly, like for those of you who know me well, I'm clearly kidding around.
And who irons shirts anyway? Do you iron shirts? I don't iron
God
shirts.
no, God no. I'm
Yeah,
wearing,
yeah.
like, I don't have to iron shirts. I wear wizard outfits. Honestly, like
use
I remember
magic to iron your
back in the day,
shirts.
we had a team that was basically all
Yeah.
Italian. We had a rivalry against the Eagles lockdown team,
Also
and
very
every time
Italian.
we played, you would made a series of posters called "Battle for the Cannolis." So
I miss it, man.
obviously, don't take us too seriously.
Who? Did
Chapman,
anyone ever get cannolis out of that?
No.
I think Eagle owes us
They did.
cannolis.
Yeah, they owe us.
You still owe us cannolis.
You owe us cannolis.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're
don't-
more than you.
No
So
Welch. No Welch.
we win.
Wow, that got off the handle really fast.
Speaking of which, speaking of off the handle, Chapman, these are your overreactions.
Listen, Ravens, there's a tool on the website. Check your damn roster. They had an illegal roster in week 5.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why
Yeah?
is this happening after 5 weeks?
I
Well,
think.
and the thing is, like, just he plays with us in Division
yeah,
3.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like he got us close to the cap in Division 3. So, I mean, like, there's obviously an issue if he's playing down Division 6.
But Chap's got a good point, man. You got to know where your tools are at.
Hey, guys, it's week 5.
Shed.
There's no reason to lose
Shed.
games because of an illegal roster at this point.
you'd be surprised because it's happening across the divisions.
Yeah.
But you know what? At least putting up an illegal roster is better than not fielding a team at all. That
That's
much
true.
I will say.
That's fair.
That's another hot take.
Hot take by Chapman.
Okay. Jean-Guy finally lost this week.
Yep.
They are not going to go 500 in the next 4 games.
Wow.
There's no way
They
that's
lo-
going to
They're
happen.
4-1
They're 5-1 now.
or 5-1. Sorry, 5-1.
With
My
4
bad.
games remaining. They're
By the
going
way,
to go.
you need to also choose a punishment.
I know.
because-
I'm waiting for the list to be updated.
But wait,
Dude,
let
we'll
me,
be updated
let me get
tomorrow
this straight.
morning.
You don't think that they're going to win the next 3 games?
I don't think they're going to win more than 2 games in their next 4.
So
They're gonna go 1 and 3.
There's so much math in all the things you're saying.
Yeah, and he knew what anemic was.
Yeah, no, you're right. I got to research this.
I think he knows the word. I don't know if he knows what it means. All right, so Gronk, Jean-Guy will not go 500 the rest of the season. Fair. And
So, listen, guys, you need to stop taking selfies. It's actually more dangerous than shark attacks.
Is that
selfies are more dangerous than shark attacks.
Is that for real?
2015. Yes,
Yeah.
it's for real. More people died from taking selfies than actual
But
shark
here's
attacks.
a question I have for you. How do we know about shark attacks that happen when no one's around? There's no one else to report it. So
Because the people
there's
are
probably
missing.
a lot of unreported shark attacks.
There's
There are
probably-
no unreported shark attacks. They need to go to the hospital
there's
after it
probably
happens.
there's
No,
probably
I'm saying
un-
they're not alive. Like
Dude.
they're just dead.
But then there's missing people.
there's probably unreported selfie deaths as well. I mean, come on.
It's just because of how dumb they are. Anyway, we're going to cut the break, but quickly, right before we do, I want to remind everyone to live life to its fullest. Live every week like it's Shark Week.
That's pretty good.
worse selfie deaths than shark attack deaths.
How's that even possible? Like,
Because
how do
there
you
aren't
die
that
doing
many
this
shark
stuff?
deaths a year.
People are
if you
stupid.
watch Shark Week, you would know it.
I don't watch it. I don't care.
I am Peace Delarice. I'm dressed as a wizard because I lost in Table of Terror this week. Eagle at Master Control has now eaten 6 donuts, half of the requested number that he needs
Actually,
to.
it's 5.5 because
how
I ate
you
the other
feeling,
half.
Eagle?
I ate a half.
He has to eat 12 donuts. He has to eat 12 donuts this evening for having lost in Table of Terror. If you want to join in the festivities, it's a lot of fun. Watch Table of Terror at 8 p.m. I'm joined, of course, to my left by Deez Delarice,
What's up?
producer Chapman at Master Control. And if you want to tweet the show live, you can tweet at Eagle FPF. Eagle is our technical director. I want to shine the spotlight on new teams
Right.
in the division. So here's the thing: it's completely random. So sometimes it's a team with a bunch of new players, and then sometimes it's like, well, this team has like 3 new players, and I didn't choose another team because they had 5 new players. Like I was like, I don't know, it's random. Sometimes they're new, sometimes they're kind of new, and sometimes I left you off the list. If I left you off the list, it's probably because I don't like you. Nighthawks. Let's start with them. They're interesting. We have Vincent Alessandri is the only player to have any like decent cred on his team.
Right.
Street cred.
Street cred, turf cred. He has a lot of touchdowns.
Yep.
Does them being one of the highest scoring offenses surprise you, given that they're one of the newest teams? And with that said, do you think that they'll continue to play well, or will they disappoint you down the stretch?
That was a long question.
Go.
Alessandrini's the man. I'm just saying that's a fantastic offense. Not surprising whatsoever. They're going to continue their reign of terror on the rest of the league.
Tip Top Shape is a kind of new
Yes.
team. We all are very familiar with David DeAndre and all the seasons he's played with
Yep.
Team Ethnic. How do you deal with him? Do you think they're really a Div 6 team, or are they, in your estimation, a Div 5 team?
Div
playing
5
at Div
team,
6?
they're not going to lose another game this season. There's nothing you can do. They're going to win a
Championship?
championship. Yep.
We'll be broadcasting
No,
that game.
they are
at the
bigger.
finals.
They are bigger and stronger than everyone else in this division.
And it's all about size. Spartans, are they winning games only when they have the better athletes? Will they win games when they need to actually win strategically?
They just feel like the kind of team that's going to make it like maybe past the first round of playoffs, but I just don't think they have enough tools like to really get to the next stage. I don't know. That's just how when I see them play.
That's what I'm saying. So
nothing really
do
shines.
they just win when they have the better athletes,
Yeah.
or can they win games schematically as well?
I don't think they can win the game schematically. I think when it comes down to the playoffs, you need better players.
Buffalo Sabres, they lost 2 games by they lost a game by 2 and a game by 1 point respectively. Are you surprised? Are you surprised that they started?
Oh, what an idiot!
Stop that.
I hate him.
I've never been happier that the Eagle doesn't have a microphone.
Yeah, if ever we're mad at, randomly, it's because we're mad at him.
So they lost 2 games.
Sabres,
one
yeah.
by 2 points, one by 1
Yes,
point.
yes.
Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised.
that they're a game or 2 away from having 4 wins this season.
I am kind of surprised. Actually, I just said I'm not surprised
Wow.
with the fact that I didn't know the question was. But
Wait for me to ask the question.
You take so long.
You also
It takes so
have
long
the
to
questions in
talk.
front of you.
You see too many words to say something simple. Listen, with this team, they are not what their record says they are. This team with the guys that they have, with Marini on that team, listen, that's a team I don't want to play in the playoffs. That's all I got to say.
That's fair.
And they're the kind of team that could give Tip Top Shape a run for the money
That's interesting.
if put in the right position. Yeah.
I can definitely see that. The Trojans have cooled in the past couple of weeks. How can Marc-Antoine Douillard return to form?
It's tough to say because they're overall a decent team. The problem is it's all about the interceptions. Like having 14 interceptions in an FPF season, not even closing out yet. I mean, it's 14 interceptions is quite a lot, and it's a lot considering that there's 4 games left. You know, they have a tough schedule coming up. I just don't see this team really getting past it unless they can figure out the amount. They lower the amount of interceptions that he has.
Okay, and if we look at PB and Jelly, we've talked
Your
about
boys, you love them.
We've already talked about
They're my
them.
boys.
We've talked about them a lot, and they're not really a new team. So that said, give them advice about where they should go for an All Bros road trip.
Where they should go for an All Bros road trip.
Yep.
Don't ever go on an All Bros road trip. It's never that fun. Okay, in terms of
just like the strip club in Atlantic City, that was bring your own booze, and therefore there was way too many men in that strip club.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Gentlemen's Club. Sorry,
I don't know what you're talking about. And if anyone I know is listening, he's crazy. It never
Yes,
happened.
never happened.
Never happened.
I'm
It
assuming
happened.
that's what happened.
So broke. Yeah, so PB and Jelly, Jay Strachan. I think I pronounce his name properly every time I say it, and I think they're really.
I'm not asking about that. Where
I don't know what your question
should they
is.
go on an all bros
I
road
already
trip?
told you, man.
Pick a place.
The Glades.
The Glades? Is this
It
Arrow?
is decided.
Is
It
this
is.
an Arrow? They're gonna go to the DC TV universe.
I don't know what you're talking about,
It is
but
the
I'm
Glades.
sure it's
The
that-
Glades.
that's
They're
right.
gonna go to the Glades. Perhaps the Everglades in Florida as well. Wrestle a couple of alligators. I can actually see Joseph Cano wrestling alligators. By the way,
They have a set of really good receivers on this team. I just want to point that out.
Listen,
Am I not
I
allowed?
don't
Am
care.
allowed?
I don't
Okay,
care.
okay, right.
Ravens. Who's actually on this roster?
There's the Ravens. I don't know. I mean, they're
Chapman, can they win games or will they just forfeit the rest
save
of
me,
the way?
please save me.
They will not forfeit the rest of the way, but I don't think they'll win either.
No.
They're just doomed. The reason they forfeited is they needed better players, and
look how that
there we go. So, Brick Squad, not enough.
Goon
offense-
Squad or Brick Squad?
Brick
Brick
Squad.
Squad.
Brick Squad.
Not enough offense thus far. Are they destined to be a 500 team, or can they step it up?
No, I think they have a pretty decent defense. I've seen them play. They're really not terrible. They don't really have a set quarterback at this point, and I just think that's not going to help you in Division 6. And you know what? That being said, Division 6 it's usually a lot more defensive in the playoffs. That's what we've seen.
That's true.
Yep.
We've also already spoken about Victoria's Secret. So instead of just breaking down the team, tell me, give them advice about how they can work on unstrapping bras with one hand.
How they can do that?
How can they improve that skill?
I say what you got to do is just work on those wrists, man.
Work on the wrists. Absolutely. Good advice. Work on the wrists. Improve your game.
I've never been able to work on my. I went to the gym once and tried to do wrist lifts. I was sure I was gonna break my hand. I don't know. I don't know what to
It's
do.
very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Eagle never needs to work that muscle because he already works it far too much.
Okay, yes.
Gamecocks are they've been on a roll. We've seen them be streaky. Do we think that they'll be a streaky team the rest of the season, or will they find a way to level it out?
I just don't think that. I look. We're at a point now where with 4 games left, this is really where they can build their character going into the playoffs. And I think that and being a streaky team can definitely help you in this point. Like we've played for teams where you don't want to start losing games fast. Like, and I think that they're the kind of team that they can build a lead pretty quickly. But they have those games where they're just off. Like, and so it's really tough to tell at this point.
As for Gamecocks, I got a text from JSUC.
Gamecocks? No, Gronky Kong.
Donkey Kong. My
Yeah.
mistake. And JSUC was talking about quarterback mechanics and how he was having trouble adapting. Is there a way you can learn that through the season, or should they find a way to work around it?
Well, not playing with a bum hamstring is not going to help.
No.
That's number one.
Because a lot of the throwing comes from your legs.
And you know what? In terms of mechanics, thankfully there's still games left in the season. There's 4 games left. I know that they're out of the playoff picture at this point, but with 4 games left, it's kind of like what their goal should
They're
be.
not actually. They can
They're
win
not?
a couple. If they win 1 or 2 games, they have a shot. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But also, I don't think we have a playoff standing yet, right?
no, we're going to start looking at that as a week
we
7.
really should get
I
one
hope.
because at this point it's hard to tell with a couple of teams.
Yeah, it's true.
But-
Depends.
but- but that
Depends on if it's
Yeah.
16 full teams, then I think they might have a
But
shot.
you're asking me if he can work on the mechanics, and I think that right now this is the only shot he's going to get is playing games. Like I don't know if practicing is going to help. Like it's flag football. We don't like no one has time to practice flag football. No one our
is
age.
practicing at this point.
We used to practice when we were younger and didn't have wives and girlfriends.
Yeah, now we're not allowed. We're barely allowed to go to games. That brings us, of course, to everyone's favorite part of the show. It is Science Hour with Duke. Every week, we take a scientific concept and we throw it at Diz Del Rees, and then he defines it for us, and that becomes the new definition for the term. We will never actually define the term,
Never.
of course, because
Never.
what he decides is forevermore the definition for the term. Chapman, can you give us a Science Hour for Duke?
Yes. Last week, Duke was begging for axioms, so I found him one.
What's an axiom?
The
Can we do-
gluing.
It's a great start.
Can we do
This is a great
axiom?
start.
Can we do axiom?
Well,
We can't-
you can do a kind
First,
of
explain
axiom.
what an
Let me
axiom.
speak.
What's an axiom?
It's for you to define.
A word that you will define on this podcast.
So it's the gluing axiom.
The gluing axiom.
Yeah, Gluing.
No, don't spell it. That makes it so much worse. No. Oh, yeah, the opposite of that. The gluing axiom. Can you give me like if
It's not degluing. It's
Is
the.
Is it medical,
Gluing
scientific?
axiom.
What is it?
It's mathematical.
I'm stuck on the axiom part. I'm gonna just go with axiom.
Go with it.
Axiom is kind of like when you split something apart. It's it's like the spine of it. It's the like I don't know if you spread like a loaf of bread apart. It's like the middle. I don't know. It's like the axiom, like
So
Can
what
you
would be
tell
what would be the gluing axiom then?
the gluing axiom. It's like when you stick two things too close together and you got to rip them apart, and then
It
there's
leaves
like,
the loaf of bread.
It leaves some axiom behind.
So,
I have no idea.
so again,
I'm really dumb.
The gluing
Yeah.
axiom is when you stick things so close together,
And then you got to
you
rip
need to
them
rip
apart.
them apart. Only to leave behind some axiom.
I hope my boss never sees these podcasts. He's
And
never
just
going to
be
hire
fair,
me for
it
anything. Jesus, I'm so
It's a
dumb.
loaf of bread. So with that, Chapman, please cue up the games because I can't even
hold on.
describe what I just heard
I'm
right
gonna
now.
try. So, TDs and beer versus the Ravens.
Teas and beer because Ravens will forfeit by having a legal roster. Dees, give us actual analysis, please.
I'm going to go the opposite on this one. I'm going to go with TDs and beer because I don't believe the Ravens can win.
That's the
TDs
same
and beer.
thing.
Oh, is that what you said? I can't. I
That's
don't
very
listen.
axiomatic
I
of you.
don't, you're wearing a wizard suit. I can't listen to you.
And why?
And why would? Why are you wearing a wizard suit? Or
Why will TDs and beer win the game?
Aside from the fact that they're a better team, I don't think that at this point Ravens have enough players to actually make a full
So
roster.
So yes, they have better players
Yeah.
and they have more players. So
Yeah, they have more
therefore they'll
players.
win. Next game.
Goon Squad versus the Trojans.
I'm gonna go with Trojans.
I'm not going to go with Trojans. I think they throw way too many interceptions. But however, they are playing a weaker team. So, but I am going to go with Goon Squad. I have a feeling about them this.
Because of?
Too many interceptions on the Trojan side.
All
So
right,
I think
that's
that's yeah.
Diablos versus Smoking Axolots.
The Smoking Axolots, they played a game this week where they had 5 players and then 2 of them got ejected. So things are not looking up for the Smoking Axolots.
What did they get ejected for? Do we know?
Being Smoking Axolots.
Okay. Yes.
So that said, I'm gonna go ahead and pick whoever they're playing against. Who
I'm
is?
actually gonna
Diablos.
The Diablos.
I'm gonna go Diablos too, just because I think this game means a lot more to them. I think that they're doing pretty decent. 3 wins, 3 losses this season. I just see this game as meaning more.
Yeah, it's got a
to
deeper meaning,
Diablos.
much like the movie The Notebook. Chapman,
Tip Top Shape versus Spartans.
tip-top shape
Top
because
shape,
they're
top
awesome.
shape. Yeah,
Just they're a Div 5 team and Div 6.
yeah, absolutely.
Brick Squad versus 420 Blaze It.
We're gonna go 420 blazing. Brick Squad's kind of been struggling all season, so that's what I think. What about you, D?
Oh, I'm gonna go with Brick Squad. No, I think Brick Squad actually has a pretty decent defense. I've seen Brick Squad play quite a few
You
times.
refuse to say 420 blazing on camera is why. That's the actual reason.
I don't know, man. You're a wizard bringing up strip clubs. I don't
That's
want to
true.
talk about it. But I'm saying with Brick Squad, I've seen them play a couple of times this season. Their defense is pretty decent. I really think that they're like that. They're like, I don't know. They have something about them. So you're saying they're not playing as well. I don't believe you. I think they're playing okay.
All right.
Gamecocks versus Gronky Kong.
Gamecocks, Donkey
Gamecocks,
Kong,
yeah.
their offense looked anemic, as Duke would have said.
It's 5 times to see this show.
Yeah,
Stop
it's the
it.
word of the day.
It's getting overused. Buffalo Sabres versus Team Laval.
Team Laval or CMS Laval? Team Laval.
Team Laval.
Team Laval.
You take this one, Dees.
I'm gonna go Team Laval. Wait, they're playing who?
Buffalo Sabres.
Buffalo
Sabres.
Sabres. This is super close. Super close. I'm going to go with Team Laval on this one. They're riding a hot streak. They're definitely doing a lot better at this point. Like you said, Marini might not be enough. And I just think that, like, when it comes to closer games right now, it's more in favor of Team Laval.
I'm going to go Sabre FC. Honestly, I've been really impressed by them so far.
But they've been losing games so close. Like, they seem like they're not able to finish off, though.
finishing is important.
PB&J versus the Nighthawks.
PB&J. Honestly, I like PB&J a lot.
Yeah, I do
they've been my boys from the beginning of the season. I'm going to stick with it.
Can we have a Table of Terror challenge with the PB&J sandwiches?
Sure, I'll take them. So me and you, loser has to choose a Table of Terror challenge.
No, I just want to have a challenge where we have to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh well, yes, I'll add one. I'll add a PB and jelly.
Okay, awesome, whatever. So BB&J is going to win this game. Better defense, just overall. I don't even see this being close.
Fair.
Victoria's Secret versus CMS Laval.
Whoo! This is a tough one, baby.
Victoria's Secret, but I do not want to watch this game. I'll probably be there, but I do not want to watch
Why
this
not?
game.
Why don't you want to watch it for?
Because it's going to be ugly. Neither team can move the ball with any form of ease.
You don't think that Victoria's Secret coming off a win, it's not going to carry on over this one?
But you have to understand, like, even in that win, they did not look particularly good. The
but a
score
win's a
does
win,
not tell
man.
the tale of the
A win's
game.
a win. You go home, you're feeling great. You know.
Win's a win.
But then
It's like it's very Simon
then-
Dajny of you.
then
You say
again-
words that mean nothing.
But I like the guy. You don't. But I think like it's just. I don't know. I think that there's something to say about winning. Like this, is the first game they win. I can only see them getting better at this point.
All right, fair.
Trying to be positive, man.
NWO versus Jean-Guy.
Jean-Guy.
I think
I like Jean-Gui's defense. I'm
this is
sticking
actually
with it.
turning into a bit of a rivalry in our division. Like they've played each other quite a bit over the past few seasons.
That's
And-
true.
and it's roughly the same roster too on both sides. You
Well,
know?
the big change, of course, is Sean Tran is no longer the quarterback of Jean-Guy.
yes, big difference.
So I mean, that makes a difference. In look,
I think they're better there though. Without him.
I do as well. But again, it's to me it's interesting because NWO, their offense has always been decent, and Jean-Guy's defense has always been good. So
But I'm extremely-
it's great to see that.
I'm kind of excited about this game. This is kind of the game that excites me the most. I didn't mention the rivalry aspect, but I think also it's a pretty big game for both teams, considering they're only a loss and a win apart. So talking about a 5-1 team playing a 4-2 team, but just specifically, I think that it's just an interesting game to watch. Both really good defenses. So, but you know, I love watching. I like watching defensive games. That's me. Though. I'm kind
We
of.
gave you the signal that means stop talking.
Okay,
Next
yes.
game.
That's it.
That's it. Amazing.
Yeah, but like you tell me to stop talking, and you're talking about peanut butter and jelly for like 5 minutes.
That's
We
important stuff.
talk about important matters.
Silver again. Okay, all right.
So that brings me, of course, to my Thursday lesson plan.
Yeah.
And it relates to what Chapman was saying today about the Ravens. Guys, stop trying to cheat the cap.
We will find you.
We will find you.
But like, how does that work? Who's the snitch? Who's the snitch?
Often it's the other team they're playing against. Media members tend to be looking at.
It's not the players they play against. It's you guys. You guys are a bunch of snitches. The players don't realize. You're like, oh, he's a 0.5 over the over number. Let me.
There is
let me
no
tell
evidence
somebody.
because, as far as I can see, neither Eagle or I have any stitches, and we all know, of course, that snitches do in fact get stitches. I am Pease Delarize, of course. Thank you all for joining us, and remember, goodbye.
This is the worst. I hate you. I hate all of you. Not Rob. I love Rob. I hate you. All of you three though.
Thanks, appreciate it.
1, 2, 3.
Can we end the show now?
Yeah.